And then, he forgot to edit my cameo in his Fear Stuff Bathroom video. Can you believe it? Ugh.
The Backrooms is an internet legend about a seemingly infinite number of repeating rooms which can only be accessed by no-clipping through reality. It started as a single post on 4chan with the iconic image that we all know today, accompanied by a small caption about how to access the area and describing the sound of endless buzzing lights and smell of moist carpets. The concept really sparked interest in people and whole communities were formed over it. There used to be a period of time where people were treating it as the second coming of SCP and making their own Backrooms levels. There are a lot of these levels that still remain somewhat relevant, such as the pool rooms and the end, but going through all of these right now would take up the whole video. The concept of the Backrooms itself has been adapted many different times, with arguably the most famous of these being Kane Pixel's Backrooms series and soon to be movie. A lot of games have sprouted from it too. But one of these games is, in my opinion, the most unique take on the Backrooms that I have personally seen, a game called Oddcore. Instead of being a classic eerie experience, Oddcore is, in my eyes, ultra killing the Backrooms. It's a fast-paced FPS with a lot of mechanics and variety while being set entirely inside liminal environments, and I love it with all my heart. First off, I'd like to start off with the gameplay, because it isn't exactly the same as other boomer shooters. Warning that it is going to get a bit complicated. Your main equipment for the game is a device called the Oddman, which is multi-use. You can use it to shoot souls, progress between levels, or teleport back to the hub. Souls are mainly earned from killing enemies, but can also be gathered from soul crates or the Watcher, who we'll get onto later. Souls are your main form of currency while in a run, and are multi-purpose. Their main uses are healing yourself, dealing damage to enemies, and buying both time and cards. You are constantly on a timer with a maximum of 5 minutes, which can be increased when returning to the hub by shooting the clock with a soul, granting you 30 seconds per shot. Additionally, on the other side of the hub is a slot machine which has the option of 3 cards or going all in. This is the part of the game which isn't explained in the tutorial and took me a while to understand. The 4 types of cards are green, red, blue and yellow. Green cards increase max health, red cards increase damage and crit chance, blue cards increase fire rate, ammo and ult cooldown, and yellow cards do nothing, at least by themselves. You can spend a soul to shoot them, which grants you any listed stat buff alongside one of the corresponding cards. Or you can choose the all-in option, which grants you more rolls than you'd otherwise get with your current souls at the cost of not being able to choose which cards you get. However, every time you portal back to the hub, you incur 1 extra tax per visit. This tax means that anytime you shoot the cards, you will spend an extra soul equal to your current tax. For example, if you had 1 tax, you'd spend 2 souls, and if you had 4 tax, you'd spend 5 souls, so be careful when teleporting to the hub. Back to the cards themselves though, they are probably the most important part of the game. Every few levels, you teleport to the Odd Mart, the in-game shop. In here are 4 vending machines, green, red, blue and yellow. The green vending machine gives bonuses to defense, red for offense, blue for utility, and yellow grants you an extra item. Each of these upgrades requires 2 of their respective card type, and you can choose 2 per shop visit. On top of being able to spend cards on upgrades, you can also infuse your weapons with elemental damage, which costs 10 cards. Green cards invoke radioactivity, which do lingering damage when hitting an enemy. Red cards grant flame, which makes enemies explode on death. Blue cards grant frost, which slows enemies and on the 8th hit frees them in place, and yellow cards grant shock, which chains bonus damage between enemies. Be sure to always pick 2 upgrades per shop visit though, and if possible an elemental infusion, otherwise the enemies will outscale you. fast. That's it for the complicated part of things. If that was a bit much for you to understand, don't worry, I didn't get it for a while either. To pass through levels, or as they're called, variants, you have to do a variety of things, although mainly it will be to kill a certain number of enemies. Other objectives include capture points, collecting walking flowers, and a parkour dash. At the end of every run, you earn tokens based on your performance, which can be spent in Timmy's arcade to earn tickets. A really fun part of the game. If you don't care about what you play and just want as many tickets as possible, the Hopper minigame can be really easy to get going infinitely. Other minigames include Basketball, Whack-A-Mole, and Space Invader. With the tickets that you earn from these games, you can buy cosmetics, weapons, and gadgets. Weapons and gadgets are the main way to customize your gameplay. In total, there are 10 of each, and all of them work differently. My personal favourites are Lightning Staff and Nail Gun for weapons, alongside Slide and Grapple for gadgets. I also haven't mentioned, but every weapon has a secondary attack, which acts as a sort of special move. Again, it differs between weapon, but for a few examples, the SMG shoots a big AoE damaging ball, the katana is thrown forward and can be dashed towards, and the yo-yo bounces between enemies. By far my favourite is the Lightning Staff, for both being a good weapon and its ults being one of, if not the best in the game. The main attack is hit scan and does AoE damage in a small radius, which is already very powerful, but oh my god, the ult is an absolute saving grace. It casts a zone which pulls enemies into it, freezes them in place, and can then be hit with your main attack to deal massive damage, and oftentimes is just a kill everything button. I love it so much, it's a weapon I use in basically every run. And this all goes without talking about the actual Backrooms inspiration as well, which is very evident the more you play the game. I mean, the game begins by you no-clipping through the floor, that much should be an obvious hint to the inspiration. As you play through the variants, you'll probably see a decent few levels which just are the Backrooms, straight up, and another few that remind you of it. Once you've beaten the final boss, you can customize which variants in rotation, and can see that there are a total of 13 different Backrooms levels. On top of this, there are more references to other popular liminal spaces that you may recognise. Every variant plays differently with how you have to maneuver around them, especially ones with fall hazards. Be careful on those ones if you aren't using the grapple ability, or you will most likely fall to your death. Enemies in this game also have really cool designs, especially the Sculler, because of how much it reminds me of a Wendigo, my joint favourite cryptids. Although most enemies are a simple case of shoot them and they die, there is some form of strategy involved with it, and I really like that. Crawlers and tubes are your basic melee enemies, and eyeballs are ranged flying units, but other ones have unique interactions. Some of these interactions are aliens always dodging the first shot aimed at it, making spam weapons effective over high damage one-shots. Hand protects other enemies from being hurt, so they should always be the priority to kill. And being snatched by Hugger can melt your HP bar, so you should always be looking out for their attacks. Better yet, the upcoming update, mid-June, is going to have a lot more enemies added to the game, of which the devs have shared concept art and some gameplay footage for. They all look awesome, and I'm really excited to see them coming soon. Before moving on from enemies though, there is one guy that I have to talk about, the Watcher. The Watcher is an enemy that has a chance to spawn in at the end of variants, and if left alone, does nothing. But if you shoot him or get too close, he starts rapidly pursuing you on all fours, and if he reaches you, will bring you down to 1 HP and take you to a pocket dimension. Here, you will gamble for what will happen out of 15 possible interactions. This is also the only possible way to get an item of corrupted quality, which are items that completely change the way the game is played out. In my view, corrupted scissors is the best because it completely breaks the game. It sets your time limit to 1 minute, but with the plus side of no more tax, ever. It breaks the game because you can spam going to the hub and buying all the upgrades on the slot machine, which gives you small stat buffs that rack up over time, as well as give you hundreds of cards. This way of playing is how I actually managed to beat the final boss the first time. To address the main point of this video, which is Oddcore being, in my view, the most unique adaptation of the Backrooms. There are several reasons why I think this. The first reason is making the Backrooms a theme park instead of the classic endless array of offices where the only goal is survival is so cool. I don't think anybody really strays away from that original concept, but I am so glad that Oddcore did. I love how you still feel trapped, but in a bit more of a less threatening way, like the Backrooms is some kind of game instead of just endless exploration. The arcade and ticket system really help add to this feel of it being a game too. The second reason is because they made it an FPS. I mean, who looks at the Backrooms and thinks of making it an Ultra Kill style game? It's so cool. It all translates surprisingly well too, with different levels of the Backrooms being used as different gameplay levels. I'm surprised the developers even thought of making Backrooms an FPS game, but I am not complaining at all because it turned out amazing. My last point is to please listen to the soundtrack of this game. I am not joking when I say it's one of my favourite soundtracks ever, with Apathy in particular being top 3 game OSTs for me ever. I've been exclusively playing the game's soundtrack in this video because it's so damn good and deserves more recognition for how good it is. Please take a listen to it. And that's all I have to say for this game. Sorry that it wasn't structured like one of my normal videos, I just thought it deserved its own dedicated video to be put in a bit more of the spotlight. I also wanted to make a Backrooms related video, but thought anything else like Kane Pixel's Backrooms series or covering levels would just be a repetition of what others have already said a million times over. This felt like a great opportunity to talk about a game I love that deserves more attention. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.